Let's talk facts. The Avengers are not coming. Who will keep the American people safe?
There's some big threat out there, and you are gonna help me stop it.
Wait, us?
Yeah, you. Why, you got someplace to be?
I love that guy.
So none of us comply? So what, do we all just punch and shoot?
I can't think of a worse group of people trying to work together.
Stop! Speed! John, stop! Where are you?
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Bust Up Boys. I'm Zach.
And I'm Zahran.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, you just saw the Thunderbolts trailer, which we're going to review. Zahran, kick it off. How'd you like it?
All right. I mean, so background, both me and Zach went to Lincoln Square to watch it. Biggest screen in at least the Northeast, from what I understand. So when I say this, it feels like Thunderbolts is it's a genuine return to form for the MCU. But what does return to form mean? Return to form means something very different to other people than it means to me. For me, like most MCU entries that I've seen, they're decent to above average, like popcorn movies for me, and which is fine. You know, that's completely fine. As I think a few directors have said, they're kind of like roller coaster movies, but there are definitely some highlights, standouts that I have, like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies by James Gunn. Most of the Avengers movies, to be honest, outside of Age of Ultron and the Captain America trilogy, and not including obviously the latest one with Brave New World. So This one, I would say, probably slots into that above average. Not really one of the highlights, but a decent popcorn movie. I think, like, what would I say the highlights? The action was decent, serviceable. I love that desert scene that we watched. That was great. It's unfortunately a lot of the fight scenes, they're not as tight with the choreography that you would expect from a movie that has a budget of around 170 to 200 million dollars. Especially when you see movies like Monkey Man, John Wick, other DC movies, even, like, they all have such great action scenes. Captain America, Winter Soldier, those have such great, tightly choreographed action scenes, and I don't think I saw much here from it. So yeah, performances were great. I think Florence Pugh and David Harbour were probably my highlights, and of course Elaine from Seinfeld. I think she carried most of the movie for me, because I was laughing whenever she was on. It felt like I was watching Veep as like the next level to Veep, you know? So, and yeah, I think everyone turned in a B performance. What's the guy's name? Bob,
yeah.
I know him as Bob. I don't even know the actor's name, because the last time I saw this actor, Bob, was as Bob in Top Gun Maverick. So they all did a great performance, solid B. Wyatt Russell, the person from I think her name was Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp. So yeah, like, I think it was a decent movie, you know. Can't complain. Story and the plot is as predictable as ever. I was watching next to you, and I was just holding myself from saying, like, oh, watch this, X, Y, and Z is gonna happen, and X, Y, and Z did happen, because it was very predictable, safe, but good, tightly executed movie. That's my spiel. What about you, Zach?
That's a good way to kick things off. Yeah, I think it avoided a lot of the errors that other, like, recent movies have made. It wasn't necessarily too long. The special effects, like, weren't, like, overpowering or corny or whatnot. It actually had, like, a fairly straightforward story. I think it did, like, a pretty good job of executing on it. The director is the guy who directed Beef on Netflix, really liked. So he's kind of an expert in, like, making these kind of movies about really angsty people and, like, how do they make sense of, like, life, like, when people are just feeling that way. And now it's kind of like the bad guy, and we've seen versions of this bad guy in superhero movies, like the Riddler and like the most recent Batman movie, for example. I think this movie does a pretty good job with it. It's like actually describing like what the villain is feeling and why they go a certain way. I think other movies don't do as good a job with this kind of villain, so I want to give it props for that. It has like a couple of different scenes. It doesn't like bounce around too much, different settings, which is kind of nice. Like you said, there's a really nice, like almost like Mad Max like scene where Bucky Barnes appears. It's kind of interesting how like Sebastian Stan and Bucky Barnes is now like he's almost a little bit like the Iron Man of the franchise. He's been like with the franchise for like a decade. People were cheering when he showed up, which is like kind of crazy because even like a couple years ago, that definitely wasn't the case for Sebastian Stan, but now he's like an Oscar nominee and he's like a member of Congress in this movie at this point. So he has kind of like been elevated within like the MCU canon, so to speak. So like I think that's like interesting to see. Yeah, Florence Pugh does a great job. David Harbour does a pretty good job. So yeah, I think we'll talk more about it. But yeah, I think my expectations were lowered. This is like the 30th, 37th or something a Marvel movie, so you can only retell this kind of story like so many different times. But I think I had pretty good notes on like the amount of humor, the simplicity of the story, not trying to do too much, and then at the end we get a good lead in into what's it called, Doomsday, which will come out I think next year. So for me, like again, like I think you said, it wasn't like in the top tier Marvel movies, but for me, it's like maybe like in the middle or in the high like B range. So met my expectations.
Nice. So
Yeah, but I want to toss it back to you, Zahran. Like, the MCU universe more than I do. Like, do you think Bucky Barnes is like a senior statesman in MCU nowadays, or do you feel like it's just like a side character that just appears a lot? I want to hear from experts.
I like that you said senior statesman because I think he's one of the oldest people there, right? Because he was from the
Probably, yeah.
1940s with Captain America and the
That's a good
first
point.
Avengers. So
Yeah.
yeah, I ever since he showed up in first Avengers, he always had this charisma about him, which is funny. I don't know if you know this about Sebastian Stan, but the only reason he got the role apparently was because he was in Hot Tub Time Machine.
What? No
Yeah,
idea.
yep. He was in Hot Tub Time
Wow.
Machine and he was only relying on the residuals from Hot Tub Time Machine to get some kind of roles and like get his name out there. So look, thank God he did
Wow.
that movie. I think he has amazing charisma to him. He went from playing in first Avengers, he played like a very confident man opposed to like Steve Rogers who's like small and undersized and isn't it compared to him. So he's a lot more confident to it being the roles being reversed in Winter Soldier, where he's very unsure of himself. He's fighting two identities and he's been able to play that off to a T. And yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. I think in the MCU, he is the elder statesman. I thought he was for sure going to be the next Captain America. I was shocked that they made
Oh, yeah.
Falcon Winter Soldier. I know they made Falcon the Captain America instead of him. So, which I appreciate. I think that was a nice little change of pace. That I thought they were just going to be like, oh, let's get the next superpowered guy. Now he has a metal arm instead of a shield. He's going to be the new Captain America. Luckily, they didn't
Yeah.
go that route yet that I know of. But yeah, I think he's that kind of that glue. I am shocked. Spoilers, big spoilers here. But I'm shocked that he actually is disagreeing with Falcon and Captain America Sam in the after credits scene because big spoiler here, they're considered the new Avengers. If that didn't get spoiled for me, I think I saw a big poster of it in the city the other day where it says New
No.
Avengers instead of Thunderbolts. Um, so uh, that's a little shocking to see from him. I'm surprised that I'm curious how they're going to show the disagreement that Sam and him have over the Avengers versus the new Avengers. Um, but yeah, what did you think of that after credit scene? What do you think that means for the future of the MCU?
One thing that's interesting is that there are multiple times in this movie. Actually, it's not during the movie; it's before and after the movie. It references Fantastic Four. So in the movie theater, and I'm not sure if this is all theaters, but at least in the AMC theater we're at, there's like a countdown. But for us, it was like Fantastic Four themed. So even before the movie starts, you are seeing the Fantastic Four theme shown to you, and then in the after credits scene, you see the Fantastic Four spaceship make it into, I guess, their universe. So that is like something that's interesting, which is like they're already setting up for the Fantastic Four. I mentioned in the last pod, I don't know if it's going to hit, but like we'll see. I think Marvel's putting a lot of their eggs into the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I have one. I really enjoyed that after credit scene that they showed.
Yeah.
However, I was a little disappointed to see the Fantastic Four ship come in because I feel it kind of
Mm,
spoils the
talk more.
Fantastic
Yeah,
Four movie.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Unless they're only it spoils either one of two things. Either I'm gonna go into Fantastic Four now thinking either one, they're not gonna be in that universe for long. They're gonna move into the our prime MCU universe. Or number two, at the end of the movie, the big climax with Doomsday or whatever the case may be is going to be them going into the Prime universe. Whichever one they do, it feels a little disappointing that they would show that in the after credit scene for Thunderbolts. And I feel like they did that because they really, really need more eyes on Fantastic Four, like you said. Um, yeah, that was the only real disappointing thing about that after credit scene, but it was very well done. I like the little schism they're going to have between these multiple characters, and it's enticing to see what causes the disagreement between Sam and um, Bucky moving forward.
Yeah, yeah, and I would say the other thing in the post-credit scene, I think it's kind of alluding to the fact that Bob may have some key role in the Doomsday movie, because Bob is like sitting off to the side, like, "Oh, I can't, be the superhero because I have this evil side to me I can't really control." So, like, it's kind of alluding to the fact that there's probably going to be some scene in Doomsday where like he has to find some way to like conquer his bad side in order to defeat Doomsday. So, be on the lookout for that. Um, but yeah, like it is kind of a spoiler because now we know exactly how Fantastic Four will end, which is like a little bit weird. I guess in like Marvel's eyes, they're like, well, it's not like Fantastic Four wasn't going to be in Doomsday, so it's not a spoiler in that sense. But if you're a purist, and a lot of people who watch the movies are purists, you probably didn't want to know anything about the ending of Fantastic Four if you didn't have to.
Yeah, and fun fact, the after credit scene was directed by the Russos.
Oh, interesting. Huh.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
definitely, like you said, you nailed it with the Doomsday thoughts. So yeah, I'm excited. You know what? Like, I'm not trying to sound like too much of a downer, but I am excited for what the MCU moving forward after Thunderbolts holds. Yes, it's a good movie, nothing crazy, but you know what? This tying into Fantastic Four is going to be great. Um, what did you think of the? Yeah, like, what do you think if James Gunn made this movie?
Ooh. Yeah, I don't think James Gunn is known for like peering into these more like emotional elements of the movies. I think it kind of keeps it a little more lighthearted. The music probably would have been a bigger part of the movie. It's so huge in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. So yeah, it would have been, I think, a different vibe. Would have been more like the Thor Ragnarok, just like Guardians of the Galaxy, more lighthearted, more fun action scenes kind of vibe. I think that's probably more like a normal Marvel movie. This is more like, I think they were trying to go for a more A24 kind of feel. Beef is like an A24 TV show. I think they came out with like an A24 style trailer for this movie. So I think they were trying to do something a little different intentionally. Like they were trying to not do the James Gunn experience. They're trying to do something that's like peering more into like drama, and like there's scenes with like Florence Pugh's character and David Harbour's character talking about their childhood and like what does it mean to be happy, and like what is the purpose of life. And you probably wouldn't see that as much in James Gunn film. Um, One thing that I really liked in Guardians of the Galaxy that this movie didn't have is like the sheer creativity of Guardians of the Galaxy. And Guardians of the Galaxy, you have all these crazy creatures. You're hopping around different planets. This movie doesn't have any of that, so you're not going to get it. So that's like maybe like a small minus, but it's just a little more streamlined, a little more of like bring in that indie movie kind of emotional appeal that James Gunn probably wouldn't bring.
We're gonna have a huge disagreement right now. Um,
Okay, let's go. Let's do it.
I honestly think this feels like a Timu James Gunn movie.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Talk more.
So I think I really disagree with saying like James Gunn wouldn't have the heartfelt moments, but because I think the only
Okay.
times I've ever cried were in the James Gunn movies. One was when the guy with the mohawk died in
Yeah.
Guardians
Yeah.
2, where it was like showing like I liked how they showed like at the end of the day he takes a grand scale, but then he concentrates it into more personal stories about how um Chris Pratt's character was raised more by a stepfather than his actual father. And I think that was kind of the story he wanted to tell, that like, hey, this guy raised him and showed him the way of how to like live and survive in this dangerous universe. And I really appreciated that from Guardians 2. And then Guardians 3, the entire story with Rocket Raccoon was incredible. I think I think the biggest mistake the MCU made was firing James Gunn and not being able to retain him from DC, because I think he would have brought this movie to another level. I feel like this movie, you're right, it has A24 vibes, but I don't think it meets the quality of other
Yeah.
A24 movies,
Yeah.
especially considering I did watch an A24 movie right after this, Warfare.
Yeah.
Horrible decision to watch Thunderbolts in between Sinners and Warfare. Two of the movies which I'm probably gonna keep in my top 5 is sandwiching this movie, which it's a good movie. I'm trying not to be a complete hater, but like I still can't let MC like Marvel go for dropping the ball on letting go of James Gunn. I appreciate it because now we're gonna get probably like a kick-ass Superman movie. Even the Suicide Squad that James Gunn made, I think had a lot more heart. I feel like this was a cheap ripoff of the Suicide Squad that James Gunn made, not the old one with who was made by David Ayer, I think,
David
but
Ayers. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I think this one felt that way. Damn, the more I'm talking about it, the more I feel like I dislike this movie. But yeah,
Wow, no, no.
yeah,
I like this hot take. You have like a strong opinion. Yeah, yeah. I think James Gunn wouldn't have maybe as much of the like drama or like the introspection. You're right though. He does do heartfelt moments really well, and maybe that matters a lot more in these kind of films than like trying to do like the A24 thing. And yeah, I think you're right. I think sometimes the dialogue felt kind of flat, sometimes the jokes felt kind of flat. So it didn't totally execute on like the A24 vision. I think it's hard because it's still like a superhero movie, so like there's only so much you can do in that
yeah, yeah,
regards.
yeah,
Um, and even some parts of like the dream sequence when they're in the dream world, it felt almost like they're in Inception or something instead of like something unique and A24 ish. So yeah, I hear you. Guardians of the Galaxy is really good, and James Gunn is really good, and I think as viewers we win in the sense that like he left and is now doing like hopefully like a bunch of cool movies at DC. For
yeah.
Marvel, I'm going to hold off judgment fully until I see the end of Doomsday. Because like maybe like this all comes through together next year and it's like totally worth the wait and like the anticipation. But if Fantastic Four and Doomsday don't hit, then yeah, I agree with you. They totally messed up by dropping James Gunn.
Yeah, I think it's also natural because for me, and I think a lot of the public, after Endgame finished, everyone kind of needed a break because that ending was incredible. I think
Yeah,
what they
good point.
achieved through Endgame, they needed a reset. Maybe I think the biggest mistake they made was all these direct to Disney Plus shows, especially Captain America and the Winter Soldier, or Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I forgot what the title for that show was. If they condensed that into one film and made that the movie instead of Brave New World, that would have really helped Thunderbolts because that had U.S. agent in it, Wyatt Russell's character, and I
Yeah,
think he was very good in that show. And he was okay and serviceable in this, but he was clearly not the lead. I think more people would have tuned in to watch this because they saw Wyatt Russell's performance in the movie before, and also that was just a way more better story than whatever Brave New World was. I think more public would have seen it because I don't think the general audience really cares about Disney Plus and the Marvel shows on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I
So
haven't seen them.
yeah, exactly. Like you're someone who I would consider not just general audience, but someone a tier above that, where like you pay attention to like the newest shows, and even you haven't watched it. So if they made that good, it was really good. They explored a lot of themes. They had U.S. experiments with using the super serum, and like focusing a lot on, honestly, they were focusing a lot on the race of Sam and how it means to be the
Yeah.
first Black Captain America. And I don't think I saw a lot of that from Brave New World, but I did see that from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So yeah, it is what it is. But you know what?
And that's the show where he Wyatt Earp's character, whatever his name is, he becomes Captain America, but then kills someone and loses the title, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yep,
Okay.
yep, yep.
Okay. Cool.
And
Cool.
I think it's a good background because you see his dark moment in Thunderbolts, and you see him like looking at his like headlines of him and not being he's basically being a cruddy father essentially,
Yeah.
while like paying attention to what other people think of him rather than like his family. So yeah, but yeah, any other negatives you have? I have a few more.
Yeah. Well, one was the character Ghost. Just didn't seem very remarkable. I think they could have dropped that person. I don't know where Ghost comes from, or like I think maybe that might have been also a TV show person. But looking back with the characters I remember, it's like David Harbour's character, it's Florence Pugh, it's the fallen Captain America character. Ghost is just kind of there to advance like the plot of how they escape out of the
Yeah.
that first
So
place.
Ghost
Yeah.
is from Ant-Man and the Wasp. She
Okay.
was one
Oh,
of the
okay.
villains
Okay.
in it.
Oh,
And
interesting.
from what I've heard behind the scenes, she was supposed to have a close relation. There's a couple of deleted scenes and around 20 minutes of cut content between Ghost and Taskmaster, who's Olga Kurylenko.
Oh, who dies like 10
5
seconds
seconds in.
after.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it wasn't even 10 seconds.
So there's a lot of cut scenes with her, and
Oh, okay.
that's one of my other negatives. I'm glad you pointed that out because she had a good relation with someone who's Michael Douglas's rival in Ant-Man and the Wasp. It was Lawrence Fishburne.
Oh,
And
I
Lawrence
didn't know he was in
Fishburne
the
is,
movies. Wow.
yeah. He was pretty funny in the.
Holy
I
cow.
love the Ant-Man movies. They're what I put at that same level, but they are just laugh out loud. And Paul Rudd is always a gem, and I'll watch anything with Paul Rudd in it. But yeah, so a lot 20 minutes cut content with Olga Kurylenko's character Taskmaster from Black Widow, and cut content with Lawrence Fishburne's character, who is like her mentor, who is apparently suffering from cancer in the story for Thunderbolts, which was cut. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would explain a lot. Because like, because looking back, I'm like, this ghost character wasn't very developed and didn't really get that many good lines. So I feel like we could almost do without them.
yeah, I think there was just a couple of laughs, and otherwise she was completely useless to the story. And I feel bad for her because she was actually pretty like she had some charisma in Ant-Man and the Wasp. So it is what it is.
Yeah, and then speaking of Lawrence Fishburne, I'm not sure this is a negative. I'm still trying to think through it, but like sometimes it's distracting how famous some of these people are. So like when Julia Louis-Dreyfus shows up, like Elaine from Seinfeld, I'm just like, wait, she's in Marvel too? Like, how did we get her in Marvel? So sometimes it's almost a little distracting when people are like so famous and they show up.
She was also in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I'm like learning about that now. She's actually been in like a bunch of like Marvel pieces of content.
Wasn't the other guy supposed to be in this? Who was in Captain America Civil War, the villain in Captain America Civil War? I forgot what his name is. He was also in
Maybe.
He was also in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the villain from Captain America Civil War. Wow, I just thought of that. Where has he been? Jeez, but yeah. Otherwise, I have a couple more negatives. One is that we watched it in the IMAX, the big IMAX screen, and I still was so disappointed in the cinematography. Even watching on such a large screen, I did not feel a sense of scale. It feels like, and it makes sense because Beef, he is a television director.
Yeah.
it feels like I was watching a TV show on the big screen. That's how it felt to me, and that's why
I
I was
was
very
really
disappointed.
surprised when I walked in the theater. I'm like, oh, we're in the IMAX screen. Like, it didn't occur to me that Thunderbolts would be on IMAX or on the
Mhm.
big screen at Lincoln Center. I was also kind of surprised.
Yep. There's actually a fun little video that Kodak made and showing the different formats of IMAX and how,
Mm.
with Ryan Coogler and how they filmed Sinners and him showing like, hey, this is the way we want you to see it on the 70 millimeter. But he apparently like catered each type of movie with different aspect ratios. And like, if you watch it in regular, they put it with the, um, something vision. I forgot what it's called, but yeah, I like how creative they were with the different aspect ratios, and it feels like they never, especially with the MCU movies, they never give it that sense of attention, especially to the cinematography.
Mm.
Framing these shots and making it look larger than life. Yeah, it is what it is. But you know what? That's how all these Marvel movies have been. It's exactly how Doctor Strange has been. It's how Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, how Thor 1, Thor 2, Thor Ragnarok have been. That's just how they film their movies. So if you enjoyed those MCU movies, you'll definitely enjoy this MCU movie.
That's funny. Yeah, looking back, I will say Iron Man 2 and 3 just feel like such lost opportunities.
Yep, yep. I think I like 3 more than 2 because I think Shane Black directed that one and it had a lot
Is
of
that the Guy Pearce one?
yes, yes.
Okay, yeah, that was a little better than 2. Yeah, that's right.
Alrighty. In terms of, do you have anything else you wanted to talk about with the movie?
No, I think that covers it.
All right, I got a fun thing for you. If you could choose anyone to be on the Thunderbolts cast, who would it be?
Ooh. Like the character or like the actor or
Character, character, or
okay,
like
okay.
character, existing MCU character. Who would you like to see in the Thunderbolts or the New Avengers?
Ooh, okay. So I have to choose one of the new Avengers to be.
No, no, any character from the MCU to be in the New Avengers to face
I
off
see.
against the Avengers. Yeah,
Oh, okay. That's a super helpful context.
yeah.
Ooh, who would I choose? That's a good question. What's your choice? Maybe I'll get my creative juices flowing.
The reason why I thought of that was because
Yeah.
we mentioned Iron Man 2 because I was like I would love to have not Army Hammer, but his name is Hammer,
War
Hammer
Machine.
Industries. No, no, Hammer Industries, the guy, he was Stark's rival.
Oh, from the first movie or
Second movie. Uh
uh
Hammer Industries. What's his name?
let's
Uh
see.
Justin Hammer. He was
Oh,
played
I totally
by,
forgot about this.
why am I forgetting? Sam Rockwell. He was played by Sam Rockwell.
Dang,
He
I
would be
totally forgot
awesome
Sam
in
Rockwell was in
Thunderbolts.
MCU.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Yeah, that's like not what comes to mind when I think of Sam
So
Rockwell.
yeah,
Oh, that's
he's
so
the
interesting.
perfect person. Yeah, he's the perfect person I would think of for the Thunderbolts because one, I would love to see his interactions between him and um, Elaine from Seinfeld. I forgot how to
Yeah,
Louis Julia
DeFontaine.
Louis Dreyfus. There we go. Yeah, I would love to see the exchange between them in any movie that they do. I would love to see him interacting with Doomsday, and yeah, I feel like he would be a natural, extension of Tony Stark. The fact that we're missing Tony Stark, and now he has some celeb power after White Lotus, so would have been pretty cool to see him as the Thunderbolt, a new Thunderbolt. Also a tech guy. You get a new Iron Man guy. So
There you go. What happened to Iron Man's wife or like assistant? I think Gwyneth Paltrow's character.
yeah, so apparently she started some bullshit health and wellness uh, company called Goop,
Okay.
where they have these jade eggs, which they insert into places that we shouldn't be saying in this podcast. I'm joking. That's actually what Gwyneth Paltrow's thing is. I think it's Gooper, Whooper. No, no,
Oh
Whoop's
yeah.
the fitness tracker. Goop. I think it's
Yeah,
called
no, I
Goop.
think I think it's good. Okay, so she just like exited stage left from the MCU.
Essentially, yeah. I have no
Okay,
idea. They
yeah.
did show her in the Iron Man costume in Endgame, but I feel like they just stopped caring.
Well, I was gonna say like I'd be kind of interested to see if she could become like some kind of superhero. She's kind of a link to the Iron Man franchise. So
I think her character's name is Rescue.
okay,
I think that's what she was supposed to be, and they kind of hinted towards that in Iron Man 3 when she had the extremist thing in her body. Damn, we're going
gotcha.
way
Okay,
back in the MCU, man.
yeah. This is like damn. This is many like
Way
20
back.
years ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
all right,
Interesting.
any you want to give us your final verdict
Oh
and
man.
rating?
Yeah, yeah. So overall, I think it meets expectations. I think in terms of rating, yeah, I give this like a 8.4.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah. I'm not
8.4 out
saying
of
it's like it's definitely not as good as Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Um, if I had to guess a ranking, it would be like at the end of the year, maybe it's like the just outside the top 10, maybe like 13, 14 range. I would say probably.
right,
Yeah,
right. Yeah, I'd give this, like, for me, this just feels like, again, like I said before, return of form to the by the books MCU where it's not bad. It's a decent movie. Not to the level of Guardians of the Galaxy. I think they're missing James Gunn. I feel like James Gunn would have been perfect for this movie. Um,
yeah,
but it was fun, pretty thoughtful. I appreciated that the final battle was not just a punch 'em up, but rather, focusing on
yeah.
mental health. I'll give them major props for that. And, you know, yeah, it's a nice course correction. I'm looking forward to the future of the MCU. I feel like I haven't said that in a very, very long time. So yeah, I'll give this a solid 3 out of 5 stars.
Okay, I thought you were saying 3 out of 10. I'm like, dang, those nods for it
No,
sound like for. Yeah, 3 out of
I
5
would,
sounds like
yeah.
what you're
I
saying.
think, yeah, 3 out of 5 is like, I think you're going on like that 10 scale of like 8 is a B. So yeah, like three
Yeah,
stars out of 5 is like a B for me. So
yeah,
yeah.
sure. Okay.
It
Yeah,
would have
like
been a
that.
2.5 if it was just a typical beat 'em up. But I think, them going into like that void and going into each one of the characters like dark moments, I think that boosted it up to be something that's a little bit different and makes it a 3 out of 5 over just a 2.5 or something. So
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely for me, that made the villain just much more memorable.
Yep. Yep. Yes. Yep. Alrighty. So do you want to do some weekly recommendations?
Yeah, yeah. I'll just do a quick movie draft update.
All right.
Um, do you want to do box office real quick or?
Yes. Let me check box office.
Yeah, no worries. I'll quickly run through movie drafts. So right now, I'm still in the first place, 3,500 points. But Defer is only 1,000 points, like 1,100 points behind me at 2,400. Sinners is like by far the best movie so far in the draft. It has 2,400 points. That's 1,000 more points than Minecraft movie. So that's just really taken off. And yeah, like Thunderbolts is doing pretty good. I will say, Zahran, like Thunderbolts has like $180 million budget, so it is kind of a large budget, so it kind of reduces the number of points it has for a draft. But I think maybe you should have started that. I'm curious. I think it may end up with more points than Ballerina. We'll see.
I think so too. You know what? I'm gonna own it.
Yeah,
What it
yeah,
is.
yeah,
Just giving you a quick update. So Minecraft made 7.5 million. It's at 909 million worldwide. I don't think it's gonna hit
yeah.
a billion. From what it looks like, I
Right.
don't think it's gonna get there.
Yeah.
It kind of
Unfortunately,
like
got close-ish.
plateaued essentially, and
Yeah.
they're putting it on video on demand very soon. I think end of the week. So it looks like it might crater after this. But you know what? 2.5 times opening weekend with a huge opening weekend, so good for it.
Yeah.
And it had a minus 44% from week over week drop. Sinners had a $22 million and is now at 283 million worldwide, and it only had a 33% drop. Thunderbolts on its, what is this, week 2,
Yeah.
made 32 million, and it had a 56% drop with a $271 million worldwide. You said it was 180 million budget?
Yeah. It's kind of. I didn't realize how big the budget was. It's a pretty big budget.
Yeah, so if that's the case, then they need around $400 million to break even. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they'll do that. I don't know. I think it will. I think it'll definitely be profitable, but just barely at the. So
I
not
think
bad.
you're right.
Not
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
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 I think my prediction hot take is next weekend you'll probably see Sinners above Thunderbolts.
I think that's a good take.
Oh wow,
I
I
think
thought that
word of
would
mouth
be.
is so much stronger with Sinners.
Yep.
Thunderbolts, like, I think is solid, but it's not like punching through in a way that maybe Fantastic Four will. We'll see.
All right, my weekly recommendation, and the reason why I wanted to bring this up was because I kind of really want to talk about it with you, is Warfare.
Oh, nice. Yeah, let's talk about it. I
Yeah.
forgot. Almost forgot you
Wow,
just saw
what an
that. Yeah.
amazing movie, man.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
am shocked at how great this movie is. Yeah, the story isn't as profound, not profound. What am I looking for? Is not as complex as Civil War, but the
Yeah.
way he filmed this was incredible. How it went from that one party to it all being real time right after that.
Yeah.
Wow, the sound design. I just want to give a huge props to that sound design because I want to, like, the attention to detail, the sound design, where when the ID goes off, right?
That's a
Spoilers.
crazy
Sorry.
moment. That's like seared in my memory when that goes off. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that shook me. That was like a jump scare as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I think, you know what? This is the best comparison right now. Look at Thunderbolts. It had probably 300 times the amount of explosions that
Yeah.
Warfare had. But that one explosion in Warfare just shakes you. And it's so, you nailed it right there. And I loved how they showed, like, all these people, their heads ringing, and depending on how close they are to the explosion,
Yeah.
the power, the magnitude of that ringing is different between the two. And that attention to detail, the way he directed it, oh man, yeah, what an amazing movie, man. Thanks for that recommendation. And yeah, what are your thoughts, Zach?
Oh man, I'm so glad you saw it. Yeah, it's like not a preachy movie. It's not trying to bring like some kind of message about any particular war. It's more just like here's what it's like. And like I said, the sound mixing is like next level. This is like almost best of sound mixing. And yeah, like you said, Civil War walked so Warfare could run. Um, this is like really like peak filmmaking for like warfare movies. So definitely check it out if you haven't seen it already.
I'm genuinely shocked how a movie like American Sniper did so well versus Warfare, which pretty much is very similar to how American Sniper is. I thought it would do very well in box office. I'm sorry for you, Zach, but yeah, it's I don't understand the box office disappointment that this movie was. I thought for sure it was going to have a low opening weekend, but good word of mouth will keep it going in terms of legs. And it does have a good word of mouth, but it just seems like people were just not interested in this movie. So go watch it.
Yeah, I don't know. It had a pretty good cinema score. Maybe it's just like it is an intense movie. So maybe the distributor just felt like, oh, it doesn't have a broad like appeal to people.
Yeah.
I think American Sniper had a more broad appeal. It had like Bradley Cooper in it. This is like it doesn't have like exactly the same level of star
What, Will
power,
Poulter?
so.
You're not a big fan of Will Poulter?
I like Will Poulter.
Wait, was
Yeah.
yeah, I the only thing I wasn't a huge, oh, another big scene from that movie, the show of force. The first time they do the show of
That was
force.
crazy. Yeah.
Whoa, I think I watched it in Prime. what a,
Oh,
what a
awesome.
scene.
Great. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a great
what a
watch
scene.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the sound.
That's a good way to
It
watch it.
was
Yes. Yeah.
great.
Sound is like the big thing from this movie.
Yeah. Guys, whoever's still listening, just go watch it. It's only a 90-minute movie. Like, I
That's
literally
a plus
watched
too.
it because I dropped off my wife at a dinner and then it was over before the dinner was over. That's how fast the movie is. Just going
Wow.
in intense. That 90 minutes will feel like 3 hours because of anxiety, but it
Yeah.
is pretty short. What were you saying,
Yeah.
Zach? Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. No, like you hit the nail on the head. Like the movie has like a message it wants to convey and it just gets the job done in 90 minutes and doesn't feel the need to stretch it out to like 2.5 hours or whatever.
Yeah. I appreciated how they brought in like Navy SEALs, like who were actually in that mission and explain
Right.
like
At
what
the end, they
happened.
show that. Yeah.
Yep. Like how they actually helped film the scene, and one of the directors is a co-direction with Alex Garland and one of the veterans from that mission. So
Yeah, Ray Mendoza. Yeah, this
yeah,
is like him. I think. Yeah, this is his like retelling of like what he like witnessed, and yeah, like like the person who lost a leg is like based on like an actual veteran who like lost a leg, and so
they showed him at the end of the
I-
movie, I think, right?
yeah, they brought him
Yeah.
set. I think it was filmed in London, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, really?
So
Wow.
maybe the tariffs will bring Warfare 2 back to America. I'm not sure.
Oh
We'll
man,
see.
that's a question, and that's a discussion for another day with the tariffs thing. Maybe we do that on the next
Yeah,
weekly.
100%.
But all right, Zach, I think that was a fun episode. Honestly, I was
Yeah,
more
man.
excited to talk about Warfare than Thunderbolts, but
That's so funny. Yeah, we got distracted by like trying to dissect Thunderbolts. We forgot about Warfare, which is like
yeah.
actually the movie people should be checking out.
Please go watch that. If you are watching this right now, if you see Thunderbolts, yeah, definitely watch it. Or if you want to watch it, but definitely watch Warfare if you can find it in theaters still.
100%. Yeah, if you're in New York City, watching it in Prime is like an awesome way to watch it.
All right, Zach, this has been great. You want to sign us off?
All right, if you got this far, definitely like and subscribe, and we will see you all later. Cheers.
How are we going, guys? Bye. See you.